We did this because we know that in churches, many people are affected by pornography, directly and indirectly. We know that there's a high proportion of male leaders and a substantial proportion of female leaders who are afflicted by pornography and sexualized media. We also know that there's plenty of young people, males, females in our congregations. Families are wrestling with this because we know that children and teenagers are inundated with pressure to consult, consume, engage with pornography. And we know it's having a massive effect on relationships, on conduct, behavior, and how people relate to one another. And so there is just an endless need for help and an urgency. And so Resist Ministries was born to address that urgent need.
Tell us a bit more about the urgent need. We've heard a little bit about pornography in society. Some people might say, well, it's different in the churches.
Well, it turns out it's not much different in the churches. And in society, the studies now are showing anywhere between 70 to 90% of males actively engage with pornography, and anywhere between 20 to 40% of females actively engage with pornography. Well, in the church, we're finding numbers of 70% of men and 20% of females are actively engaging with pornography as well. They're enormous numbers. That's a majority of men and 1 in 5 females. And when we're talking about engaging, we're talking about engaging with content which is extreme, which really perverts good sexuality, which dehumanizes people, which amplifies a deeply selfish and utterly unloving perspective on one another, that objectifies people, that really stacks social pressure against the more vulnerable people and the ones more inclined to be objectified, which is our young females. And so in our church communities right now, people are afflicted by this pressure. People are afflicted by addiction. People are afflicted by unwanted sexual desires. And so there's so many people who right now are lining up for help. But with this, we also know there's a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, and a lot of confusion from leaders and others. And so a lot of isolation. So people battle alone. They feel like they don't have help or support. And we want to show them that that support is there. They don't have to battle alone. And in fact, there's some very helpful people and resources available right now to assist them.
Just talk a little bit about the attitudes, the problems with attitudes that come from porn use.
Well, we know that the more you engage with pornography, the more likely you are to firstly objectify people, see them purely as sex objects, to strip away from them their character, their value, their worth. We know that the people who use pornography also see themselves in this way as well. People see themselves as sex objects and not as people. We also know that it increases insecurities. It amplifies depression and anxiety. It makes people desire to fulfill the fantasies that they're consuming. And so it raises the risk of sexualized behaviors amongst people. It puts risk of faithfulness in married relationships and can be damaging to trust and even just success in a other person-centered relationship. And there's actually a lot more to be said. We know that effects on people go right into the scientific level. We know that at the neurological level, there's compromise and harm caused by addictive behaviors, particularly ones which engage with high levels of dopamine, which pornography does. And it creates all sorts of behavioral limitations and alterations in people. But at a spiritual level, we know the effect is at its most deep. That's where people are skewered from a wholehearted discipleship with the Lord, where people are compromised in love, who are distanced from their active relationship with God. Their ministries are impaired, evangelism is reduced, fellowship is reduced, prayerfulness is reduced, family engagement in church diminishes when people within that family are active porn users, there's the liability and risk to actual welfare of others if sexualized behaviors increase. And we know at the very, very sinister end, the end of this, there's a risk of increased domestic violence and also harm to children. So yes, it has a very broad spectrum of effects, and these are the things we really desperately want to address.
So this is a very, very deep problem.
It's a deep problem, it's a chronic problem, and it's an urgent problem. The church can't sit back and wait for a generation to slowly wean themselves off this. Right now, we have generations of people who are already struggling with hypocrisy, struggling with addiction, struggling with ungodliness, and this affects everyone. And that's why we need an urgent solution now. And Resist Ministries is trying to address those solutions.
Take us through the practicalities of Resist Ministries. If a person is affected,
Resist Ministries provides three major services. The first is the recovery program. The Resist Recovery Program is a resource that churches can run themselves, and we will help train facilitators. It's a 5-week program. It's low cost, it's highly accessible, and it's very engaging. We've developed the Resist program over the last 5 years. It's been run many dozens of times, and it keeps evolving to meet the needs of individual communities and different people groups. And we know from our feedback that it's very effective. And so we are keen to get that out to as many people as possible to use as a first base resource for overcoming personal problematic behaviors. Resist Ministries also provides other services. We provide education and training. We train leaders to be able to not only navigate their communities through online sexualized media, but also how to empathetically assist people through change, create a community which is robust and resistant to the impact of sexualized pressures, and which ultimately cultivate healthy sexual attitudes and behaviors within the community. The third thing that we do is we provide seminars to individual churches, youth seminars, parenting seminars, men's and women's groups, and special interest groups, where we help address the myriad of issues that relate to those specific groups, and teach and encourage those people to not only understand the risks and the issues related to themselves, but also how to address those risks in an effective way.
So first contact for people would be through the website?
The first contact would be through the website, which is resistministries.org, resistministries.org. There is also the sister site, which is resistprogram.org, where people can find out about how to become a facilitator.